Have you ever wondered what it would be like if the world was split in two, with two superpowers vying for dominance? Well, this was the reality during the mid-20th century, a period we know as the Cold War. Picture the scene. The smoke of World War II has barely cleared, and two nations, the United States and the Soviet Union, rise from the ashes as the new global heavyweights. But instead of working together, they find themselves on a collision course, their paths diverging due to starkly contrasting ideologies. On one side of this icy battlefield, we have the United States, a beacon of capitalism and democracy, waving the flag of individual freedom and market competition. It's the land of dreams and opportunity, where anyone can theoretically make it big if they work hard enough. On the other side, we have the Soviet Union, a champion of communism and collective ownership. It's a land where the state controls the means of production and the fruits of labor are shared among the populace. It's a vision of society where everyone has equal footing, regardless of their position or status. These two nations, as different as night and day, found themselves locked in an ideological struggle, their conflicting visions for the world serving as the catalyst for the Cold War. However, this war was not fought with traditional weapons on conventional battlefields. Instead, it was a war of words, of propaganda, of economic and political maneuvering. And while the United States and the Soviet Union never directly clashed on the battlefield, their ideological battle played out on the global stage. They influenced and interfered in conflicts around the world, each trying to sway nations toward their own way of thinking. It was a chess game of global proportions, with each move carrying the weight of potential nuclear disaster. As we see, the ideological contrast between the United States and the Soviet Union laid the groundwork for this intense standoff. This was the beginning of the Cold War, a period of history that would shape the course of the 20th century and beyond, leaving an indelible mark on the world as we know it today. The Cold War wasn't just a battle of ideologies, it was a battle fought on multiple fronts across the globe. As the United States and the Soviet Union squared off, their conflicts erupted not on their home soil but in far-off lands. These were the proxy wars of the Cold War, and they left an indelible mark on world history. Let's start with Korea. In the early 1950s, the Korean peninsula became a chessboard for the superpowers. The North, backed by the Soviets, and the South, supported by the US, faced off in a brutal conflict that divided a nation and set a precedent for future proxy wars. It was a war of attrition, with neither side willing to back down, resulting in a stalemate that still exists today. Moving along, we come to the jungles of Vietnam. A similar story unfolded here in the mid-1960s. The US supported the South while the North was backed by the Soviet Union. This was a war that introduced the world to the horrors of guerrilla warfare and the devastating effects of chemical weapons. It was a conflict that shook the world and changed the face of warfare forever. But it wasn't just in Asia where the superpowers flexed their muscles. Europe, too, became a battleground. The Berlin Wall, that infamous symbol of Cold War division, was erected overnight in 1961. This concrete barrier snaked through the heart of Berlin, separating families, friends, and an entire nation. It was a stark reminder of the ideological chasm that had opened up between East and West. These proxy wars served as the battlegrounds for these two superpowers, further escalating the tensions of the Cold War. They were conflicts of ideology, battles for influence, and ultimately struggles for power. But they were also human tragedies, with countless lives lost and nations left scarred. This was the Cold War in action, a chilling reminder of the lengths nations would go to assert their dominance on the world stage. Another crucial dimension of the Cold War was the terrifying arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union. This battle of might and power wasn't fought on traditional battlefields, but instead in the factories and laboratories where weapons of mass destruction were churned out one after another. The arms race was a dangerous game of one-upmanship. Both superpowers were hell-bent on outdoing each other, amassing an arsenal of nuclear weapons that could wipe out the planet several times over. It was a chilling display of power, a testament to the lengths nations would go to assert their dominance. While the United States had been the first to develop nuclear weapons, dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end World War II, the Soviet Union wasn't far behind. By 1949, the Soviets had successfully tested their own atomic bomb, effectively leveling the playing field. The development of the hydrogen bomb in the 1950s by both nations escalated the arms race even further. These weapons, thousands of times more powerful than the atomic bombs dropped on Japan, were a clear and terrifying demonstration of the destructive potential that both superpowers held at their fingertips. This relentless pursuit of military superiority led to the development of intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. These weapons had the capability to deliver nuclear warheads to targets thousands of miles away, effectively bringing any corner of the globe within striking distance. The arms race wasn't confined to nuclear weapons alone. Both superpowers also developed sophisticated conventional weapons, aircraft, and naval vessels. The race extended into space too, with the development of anti-satellite weapons and reconnaissance satellites. The arms race, while a testament to human ingenuity and technological advancement, also instilled a deep sense of fear and uncertainty. The potential for nuclear annihilation hung like a dark cloud over the world, casting a long shadow over the second half of the 20th century. This arms race added a dangerous edge to the Cold War, bringing the world closer to the brink of nuclear disaster. It was a precarious balancing act, a high-stakes game of chicken that could have ended in catastrophe at any moment. But it was also a crucial element of the Cold War, shaping the dynamics of this global standoff and leaving a lasting legacy on international relations and military strategy. The Cold War wasn't just a battle on Earth, it was a battle that reached the outer limits of space. This era of intense rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union wasn't confined to military might or ideological battles. It also extended into the uncharted territory of space. Welcome to the space race, the cosmic competition that had these two superpowers vying for the ultimate bragging rights. The space race was a high-stakes contest to achieve first in spaceflight capability. It was a grand display of technological prowess, a testament to human innovation, and of course, a symbol of national pride. Each nation was determined to outdo the other, to prove its superiority not just on Earth, but beyond the blue skies as well. The Soviet Union fired the first shot, so to speak, when they launched Sputnik, the world's first artificial satellite, into space in 1957. Talk about a wake-up call. This achievement sent shockwaves around the globe and put the United States on high alert. The race was on. In response, the United States ramped up its space program. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, more commonly known as NASA, was established in 1958. The goal? Beat the Soviets to the moon. The competition was fierce and the stakes were astronomical. The whole world watched with bated breath as these two superpowers pushed the boundaries of human capability. It was a time of remarkable achievements, of groundbreaking discoveries, and of hope for a future where mankind could reach for the stars. And then, in 1969, the United States did it. They put a man on the moon. When astronaut Neil Armstrong stepped onto the lunar surface and declared, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," it marked a pivotal moment in human history. The United States had won the space race. So there you have it. The space race, a thrilling chapter in the annals of the Cold War. A time when mankind looked to the stars and dared to dream big. A time when two superpowers turned their rivalry skyward and forever changed our perspective on what's possible. The space race, a symbol of national pride and technological prowess, added yet another layer of competition to the Cold War. The Cold War, a conflict spanning decades, eventually came to an end, but left a lasting impact on global history. As we journeyed through the 1980s, the world watched with bated breath as the Soviet Union started to crumble under its own weight. Economic strains, political dissatisfaction, and a series of bold reforms by Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev all began to chip away at the monolith that was the USSR. The climax came in November 1989 when the Berlin Wall, that oh-so-symbolic barrier between East and West, was torn down. This monumental event marked the beginning of the end for the Cold War. The dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991 was the final nail in the coffin. The world heaved a collective sigh of relief. The Cold War was over. Looking back, we can see that the Cold War was a complex and multifaceted conflict. The ideological differences between the United States and the Soviet Union set the stage for a tense and prolonged standoff. The proxy wars scattered across the globe added fuel to the fire, while the arms race kept the world teetering on the edge of nuclear disaster. Then, of course, there was the space race, a testament to human ambition and ingenuity. Despite the political tensions, this period saw some of the most extraordinary achievements in human history. The push to conquer the final frontier led us to the moon and beyond, forever changing our perspective of the universe. In essence, the Cold War was a clash of ideologies, a game of global chess, and a race to the stars. It was a time of tension and fear, but also one of incredible innovation and progress. It shaped the world as we know it today, and its lessons continue to resonate. The Cold War, a complex and multifaceted conflict, continues to captivate us with its mix of geopolitical tensions, proxy wars, and ideological struggles. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the history that shaped our world.